60 Minutes Overtime.
We've been running elections the same way in Colorado for decades. Same bipartisan people doing the same processes. We've been looking for that fraud, and it just isn't there.
Our reporting for this week's 60 Minutes took us to Colorado, one of 8 states that allows all voting to be conducted by mail. Each voter automatically receives a ballot in the mail, which they can then fill out and return before Election Day. As we approach the midterm elections, we wanted to get an up-close look at how the process in Colorado works and how secure it is. We spoke with George Stern, who oversees elections for Jefferson County.
We've seen this system work under Republican and Democratic secretaries of state, Republican and Democratic clerk and recorders, and see Republican and Democrats win under it. And most importantly, because voters are the most important thing in all of this, we've seen voters love it. And we're checking every election. We audit the results after the fact. We test everything beforehand. If there were any type of fraud or anything like that, we'd find it, and we haven't.
What sort of fraud do you see?
In Jefferson County, I've got 400,000 voters who vote in general elections. We find usually 0 to 2 each election who committed some type of fraud of voting 2 ballots.
2% or 2 people?
2 people of 400,000. I want to be very clear, not 2%. We check every single one of those 400,000. We're verifying signature or we're verifying ID, and anything that is even remotely possible that, that there could have been something suspicious to it, we immediately send to the district attorney.
George Stern told us that rather than returning their filled-out ballots in the mail, about 90% of voters in his county put their ballots in a drop box that's available 24 hours a day. We asked how secure that option is.
You put your ballot in this huge steel box that's cemented to the ground, it's bolted in, and it's on 24/7 surveillance so that we can ensure that it's only voters putting things in these boxes. We then send teams of bipartisan election workers who've all of our election workers have gone through background checks by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. They send them in bipartisan teams, and 2 people of different political affiliations go, and while they're on surveillance, pick those ballots up each day.
So you have a Republican and a Democrat picking up the ballots every day, and they're being videotaped.
Exactly, and then they put them in a big bag that has a seal on it and an audit log, so we're ensuring that while they're on camera there, they're putting that seal on. That seal's never broken until they get back to our central processing warehouse.
George Stern then took us inside the warehouse, which is monitored with 24/7 surveillance 365 days a year. To actually access the room where the bags of ballots are dropped off, you need a special badge with 2 levels of permission, one to get on the floor and another to enter the room. Even Stern, the man whose office runs the elections, doesn't have access to the room itself.
To get into this room, to get onto this floor, you had to use a badge. To get in this room, you had to use a badge. And then here, locked behind these padlocks, we have our election equipment. So these are the ballot marking devices that will be in each of our vote centers. Inside, you'll see that each of them has seals on them that show that they have not been accessed since we last tested them or confirmed that they were ready to go.
He showed us a machine that sorts the ballot envelopes, photographs the signatures on the outside, which are then compared to the signatures on file, and separates any ballot that weighs more than it should.
This is where we actually count the ballots.
Then he brought us to where the votes are actually counted. He told us it's one of the most secure rooms in the county. The only people who can open the door are 4 senior election staff members who come from different political parties.
All we're doing here is scanning the ballots in, that's taking an image of them, and it's interpreting the ballot. So it's, if someone had bubbled in one choice versus the other, it's interpreting that. These 8 computers here are then sending that to this central computer. It's all a closed network, nothing connected to the internet.
The system takes images of every ballot it scans and keeps tallies of the number of votes for each candidate.
On election night, we're taking the results through a cleaned USB that's gone through a Department of Defense certified machine to scrub it, and taking them from the non-internet connected machine to the one internet connected machine. It's on a separate server outside of the closed network, and putting those results in there. You'll see all of our machines' USB ports are actually locked, so you even need a key to pull that out and put the USB in there so that someone couldn't just walk in.
And
with a
where
flash
does
drive.
this go?
This is an internet-connected machine. We put that on our public-facing website that has our results, and then they're open to the world.
After the election, Jefferson County stores every physical ballot for 2 years.
Have the conspiracy theories motivated people who believe the lies to come and become election workers?
Without question. So you can be an election worker or you can be a poll watcher. As long as the person is willing to swear their oath and do their job well, we welcome them in because frankly, when you see this process up close, it's impossible to now think that there's widespread fraud in it. You yourself are doing this ballot processing alongside someone of different political affiliations. You're seeing it all out in the open. You're seeing it all done by hundreds and hundreds of people who are your neighbors and your fellow church members and your fellow parents of kids. And so it helps us when we bring in people who don't necessarily believe everything I'm saying about our elections and see it up close.
Have you had people who came in as a poll watcher fully convinced that the 2020 election was stolen and changed their mind about the security of elections based on what they saw?
I have.